If only that were true. Dan said no one can hear him because he's an idiot. And I said, if only that were true, that you couldn't hear idiots. But being an idiot has no correlation nor causation with the ability to be heard.
Kendall going deep. So, well, welcome everybody. This is an all new episode of Hollow Theater. As always, I'm Dan Tertaglione. Joining me tonight as my co-host is the man from Ohio, Kendall Holman, and then coming to you live from the swamps of Atlanta, Mr. Mike Kessling, representing the New Ally shirt. I like it.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Well, so before we get into our interview, this is our little special post boot camp, post pre world celebration. Let's go ahead and see what's going on in Star Wars CCG right now. First things first, we got the OCS is still continuing along. Right now, Gavin is in first place. He's finished up all of his games. He's sitting at 11-1. Right behind him is Jared Napolitano, Matt Harrison Trainer at 9-3, followed by Connor Britton, Greg Shaw, Timo Dussel, AENEAS, and Mr. Bill Kafer himself, all at 8-4. It's a pretty good trend. Like, I know people are getting ready for Worlds, but I mean, if you're looking down the line a little bit, Daniel Moore is sitting at 6-1. Casey sitting at 5-1, and your good friend Drew Kessling, Drew, who's
more happened this weekend than I heard.
Yeah,
the cat's out of the bag, I guess.
You guys adopted Drew?
There was some sort of ritual done, I guess. Who knows?
You know what?
Share.
We're gonna have to get a little bit. Well, I'm curious to hear about the ritual, but Drew Lichtenstein is also at 8-1, and I believe he's playing right now. So we'll keep an eye on that. Also going on currently is the Road to Worlds. Jared Napolitano sitting up there in first place at 3-2. Greg and Connor both sitting at 2-0, and as you can see, a lot of other players have not played their games just yet. So get out there, play. Road to Worlds will go on until August 9th. We'll get to that in a little bit. But let's talk about, well, this is actually a good segue into Worlds. So again, Worlds, Thursday, August 10th through Sunday, August 13th. We got the Cube Spectacular. We got a retro event. The team tournament, as always. And then we got the main event Saturday and Sunday, and I'm pretty sure both Kendall and Mike are excited for Worlds. What do you guys think?
I'm really excited. Yes.
We're gonna have, I think, you go first.
Were you there in 2018, Kendall?
No.
Okay. No, Morristown was great. Yeah. So just for that reason alone, I'm excited.
Yeah, I will say this though. I think it was Sunday night. The party that was going on across the street was amazing. I don't know if you remember that, Mike, like all the loud music and stuff.
Vaguely.
Yeah. I'm guessing somebody in the chat can refresh some memories, but before we get into that, let's talk about the Road to Worlds again. Again, that is currently going on. You have until next Wednesday to register if you want to play in it. It is only $5. There's a plethora of prizes. Just all you got to do is click on the PC store, send over $5, and you'll be in the event. And it's a really good warm up. I mean, it's a fun, kind of casual event, you know. But I mean, if you want to go all, I don't know. What's the word I'm looking for?
Cutthroat?
That's a good one. If you want to go cutthroat and prepare yourself really for Worlds, go ahead. I don't know. I like to think of it as like more of a fun, enjoy yourself event, like a little bit more of a laid back one.
These events are always good because they're people don't. You're not necessarily dealing with like people who are like 100%. Like there's not the pressure of an OCS, so people might be playing like slightly more experimental stuff, but it's also not the wild west of casual tables that you get on GEMP. And it's also like just in general, when you have events like this, you can actually get games to fire off. You know, sometimes once you run out of OCS games, it's kind of hard to get a game to fire off. Yeah, especially right before a major where everybody's playing in private.
Well, I mean, I was going to say, just look at Timo Dussel. He sits on the GEMP all the time trying to get a game in, and nobody wants to play him.
I mean, I think this event's great for just encouraging people to play public games ahead of Worlds. And you can take it as seriously as you want. So it's like, if you want to be serious, you can. If you want to play it for fun, you can. It's a great event.
And for those who are in the race for it, there are Player of the Year points going to be awarded to this event. So if you are a little bit more cutthroat and want to make sure you get some Player of the Year points, go play in it. And then we just talked about Worlds, but we got another big major coming up. That being the European Championships. That will be September 8th through the 10th in Bochum, Germany. Mike, are you going to be going to that?
Unfortunately, no, not this year. It's not in the cards.
I know you went last year. You and I think you and Brian Fred went. You guys had a good time, and I know you guys made the top 8. So
yeah, I'm sad not to be able to come back to compete. I played in Europe 3 times, and those are probably 3 of my top 5 favorite tournaments in history. So I'm excited to hopefully be there next year for Worlds, but won't be there this year for Euros. But looking forward to seeing how that tournament goes. The competition is going to be very stout.
I agree. I've talked to a few people over there in Europe and everything, and they're really excited about it. So definitely looking forward to it. We'll see what we can do in terms of streaming it and getting it out to the public so that they can watch it and participate as well. But after that, in October, again, we don't really have a lot of information on this, but October 27th through the 29th, get yourself out to Seattle. It's going to be a really fun time. We got the Indoor Grand Prix. It's going to be a really fun weekend. We're back at the Hampton Inn that we've been before. So it's the usual hotel. Right now, the hotel, you are able to go on there and reserve rooms right now. But once we get more information regarding the Indoor Grand Prix, you guys will be the first to know. And then we do have a... Mike, better watch yourself. What place can be a little rough? Bill in the chat saying that Mike better...
I think he's referring to last year at Seattle. I was walking up the stairs from the main level of the hotel to the second, which is where the event was. And when I leaned on the railing, it ripped out of the wall. And so...
that was you?
Not intentionally. It was a fluke thing. So I went to the front desk. I let them know that, hey, I was walking up the stairs and the railing popped out. The person who was working at the front desk put up a sign on the stairs that said, "Watch your step." And later, someone within the Star Wars group got another sheet of paper and taped up below it. This place can be a little rough.
Did somebody take a picture with you in front of that sign?
There are photos. So whoever has them can post them in Slack. I think Clayton for sure has at least the Watch Your Step photo.
Okay. If somebody has those, send them to me like as soon as you can. Things have to be made. But if you're looking to prepare for Worlds, we got some upcoming big events coming up, including this weekend. We have July 22nd. We have the Yavin 4 Regionals. That's going to be taking place in Centerville, Virginia. July 23rd, we have Maryland States in Pikesville, Maryland. And then July 29th, we got Bespin Regionals in South St. Paul, Minnesota. And then I think, Kendall, you have kind of an announcement.
Yeah. So we're going to do a super weekend in Ohio, calling it Ohio Mega Worlds. It's going to be the weekend of November 4th and 5th. It's Corellia Regionals in Ohio States.
Okay.
At here on the event the regionals will be at Heroes and Games are at the Columbus Convention Center, and States will be at Pack Rat Comics. Both of those are local game shops in Columbus, Ohio, so it should be good times. I'm sure there will be some basement shenanigans in between. It should be. We did Corellia Regionals last year and it was a blast.
Mm-hmm.
So hoping to build off of that this year.
So so the thing is, go to Seattle, play like your test decks, and then go out to Columbus, play your real decks, because that's the real important tournament.
Yes, correct.
And obviously, you'll have. Are you going to provide like some cool bad deck breakdowns, corn on the horn prizes or anything?
Some swag.
Some swag.
I don't know. Sometimes I have swag. I mean, last year I gave away a Qui-Gon with lightsaber. So,
okay.
You know, I give away. I sweeten the deal. Always have some door prizes and stuff. So.
Will there be no reverse hats?
I mean,
I'll be wearing mine. I actually. Oh, that reminds me. I need to put in an order. I'm actually out of those. I've given them all away, but I need to buy a few more.
So I know that you're calling this the Corellia Mega Worlds. How are you going to make it into a Mega Worlds?
That's a good question. We've just got such a thriving, growing community with the Pittsburgh scene, the Ohio scene, and the Indiana scene.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, the Pittsburgh people sometimes come and visit. We had Jim Boyle came out last year, but the Indianapolis crew always comes out, and we've just been growing in Ohio. There've been, I don't want to say any names because like I don't want to jinx it, and I don't want to speak for other people.
Say the names.
But,
come on.
No, I'm not gonna say names, but there are a few people that have expressed interest to me about coming out of the woodwork. Visions from the past or whatever that Thrawn novel's called.
That's quite a tease.
That is a tease.
Well, hopefully I'm teasing something, and it wasn't just like something that some guy I talked to one time said to be nice to me. But we've got. There's probably 6 or 7 Ohio players now where there used to be none, and then there's another pod over in Indianapolis and another pod over in Pittsburgh, and we're all mediocre. So if you guys like to travel and win games, like whether you're a mediocre player or a good player, or if you're a bad player, we've got some bad players too. So.
Well, I mean, if you're going to go out there and you got to see the best player in Corellia, Mr. Brian Fred. I mean, that right there is that's a big reason.
He's a Nalhada player, but
really, I mean, he's in Indiana though.
Indiana is Nalhada.
Oh well, then
they are one and the same.
Yeah. But it's weird because Pittsburgh is like its own. It's like its own region.
Well, I mean, you just cut Pennsylvania right down the middle, kind of like California. Pennsylvania was first for some reason.
Yeah, well, I don't know.
I don't know either.
Anyway, yeah. Sorry, I should have a better. I mean, I've just been wanting to do like a big, the Yavin 4 people did a super weekend. I mean, we did a Nell Hutta super weekend, I think last year, and I mean it's always fun. And these, it's tongue in cheek that it's a Mega Worlds because that I think Chad Ashnolo came up with the name, and we ran with it, hoping to, just like with boot camp that we're going to talk about.
Yes,
like I'm just trying to build
good
something
segue.
here.
It's good branding.
So I know that the Yavin 4 guys, they do special stuff, like they have their own special playmats and stuff. Is that a possibility?
Playmats? I think playmats are dumb. I'm sorry.
You disappoint me again. First you disappoint me with your fire, now you're disappointing me with your stance on playmats.
My fire was disappointing?
Yeah.
It was a pretty great fire. It stayed going all through the rain. It was great.
So I know you said you have a little bit of a tease on some returning players. Are we talking about Are they a member of an infamous team?
I don't want to. I
Come
don't want
on.
to say anymore.
Come on.
I mean,
Just tease it a little bit.
I don't want to say because they haven't committed. I don't have any commitments.
Okay,
You
that's
said
fair.
too
I can't
much
say
already,
anymore.
Dan.
I know
I've
I've
said
said
too much
way
already.
too much. That insert open mouth, insert foot. That's like my. If you notice me on Slack, that's why I am king of foot and mouth disease.
But I mean, but I will say when I say that it's multiple people that have expressed interest about coming out of the woodwork,
Mm-hmm.
I am talking about multiple people, and I don't expect that all of them will. So I don't want to give any more details.
That's fair.
Because I don't know who's going to actually follow through, if anybody.
Reed Smith.
No, I haven't. I have not heard from Reed Smith. But that was your one question.
Okay, there's my one
What was
guess.
your one
That's my
guess?
one guess.
If you had guessed it correctly, I might have said something.
You
but,
wouldn't have. I know.
But
you too
again,
well.
I am talking about multiple people coming out of the woodwork. We had David Sunner come down from
Mhm. Yeah.
Ann Arbor last year, and that's like the only time he's played in person. Lom Hawkeye. It's like the only time he's
Okay.
played in person recently. And yeah, so there's people come to if you build it they will come or whatever. People show up people are showing up to these Ohio events, and I like it.
Okay, so you did mention this, so I think it is time. Let's go ahead and talk about why the two of you are on here. Besides the fact that you guys look good, you guys just hosted. So I know Kendall, you just did your first ever iteration of a boot camp. Mike, this is your second or third for Worlds.
Third.
Okay, and so let's start with Mike because again, this is your third one. Where did you come up with the idea of hosting people as like a get together and stuff for in preparation for Worlds?
2 years ago, Jeremy DePalo's wedding was the same weekend as Worlds, and I was in the wedding, and so I was unable to attend Worlds, and just mentioned to my wife, like, hey, it would be cool if I could find a weekend to go play cards with the guys. And she was like, why don't you just see whoever wants to come down, and you guys can help them prep, since Drew and others live around here. And then last year Worlds was in Atlanta, so a bunch of people from the team came in a few days before, so that was a little bit different, because in 2021 we also did it about a month before Worlds. In 2021 it was Taco Bill, Brian Fred, and Matt Scott who came from out of town, and then this year we had 4 folks from out of town and all the Atlanta guys, so it was a good crew.
So, and you know what's, I mean, I will say this. I actually had the pleasure of coming down a little bit early, staying with you, and just watching how the New Allies operate. Like, first of all, your house is amazing. I've said this like every time I look at it, I'm just like, wow, Mike has like one of the best houses I've ever seen. Second, I felt extremely welcome. Like you rolled out the red carpet essentially for everybody in more ways than one. But so again, thank you for doing that. Like, you didn't have to welcome me because not saying I'm a competition, but at the same time, I'm not a member of your team or anything.
Oh, it's our pleasure. Yeah, that was kind of, Worlds was a corner case where it was like we allowed folks in that wouldn't have normally been invited, just people that were getting in early or whatnot, who reached out. And so this year for boot camp, we specifically said we wanted to dial it back to just the team, which was funny because we got multiple messages from folks like, thanks for the invite and whatnot. And it's not personal. It was just, we decided to rein it in. Kendall's was the opposite, where he threw out a wide net, which was like, I think generally in the spirit of how I would like to do things like this. The problem is you can't accommodate everyone. So I would love to hear about how yours came about, Kendall.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, okay. So first, it's funny that it cast the wide net. It's like, because I was afraid people weren't going to show up. That's why I cast the wide net. But
I mean, to be fair, not a lot of people actually want to go to Ohio.
Well, okay. So, like I was saying, last year, we had just this growing group of people that were Ohio players. And in particular, in Columbus, you got me, Travis, and Carl. And also Tom Polinsky, who the drummer for Jedi Survivor, is an Ohio player. So I would, and my parents have a house in middle of nowhere, Ohio. And just like I was just, thinking like, Rocky 3 montage or Rocky 4 montage, you know, uh, we would all, drink, uh, drink egg yolks and run with firewood in the snow.
Run?
Anyway, but it's just a really good place to kind of get away from stuff, get away from distractions. And my initial thought was it would be the four of us. It would be me, Carl, Travis, and Tom. And then two things happened as we got closer to the event. Tom was in a situation where he and Chad also was supposed to go too. Chad was also in like that initial group. Yeah. And Brad was like in the loop because he's in our Facebook Messenger thread, but I didn't expect him to come. But then he so that was great. Brad Iyer.
Okay.
The Brad. When I say Brad, I mean the Brad.
Well,
from Ohio.
I was going to say there's like 3 Brads now in Star Wars. CCG.
Yeah. But
it's
when
like
I say Brad,
Justin, it's like.
But when I say
Chris.
Brad, unless I say Brad Reinhardt, and I don't know any other Brads.
Yeah, I don't know any other Brads either. I know the 2.
Isn't Kipple a Brad?
Yeah, there's 3. I told you there's 3.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, but I don't usually say his first name.
No, everybody knows him as B. Kipple.
So, but anyway, like it was a lot of people, like sort of that. We had that core of about like 6 or 7 people, a couple of people that I haven't mentioned that are not worth mentioning. Like sort of were giving me maybes.
Mm-hmm.
And so then I was like, well, I guess I can tell the Pittsburgh people about this. And so I sent stuff to the Pittsburgh people. I made sure all the proper Corellia people knew about it, and then I made sure that the Indianapolis people, although it's like a 6-hour drive from Indianapolis, so I didn't expect any of them to come. But like I sort of made the net a little bigger, and then I was like, I posted it on the forums, and then like people were like, "Oh, I wish I could have gone." I'm like, "You're on the West Coast. I did not expect you to fly to this middle of nowhere." But then like literally the week of Casey Annis, I was bringing it up, like you do, you plug your thing, and Casey Annis was like, "Oh, you guys are doing like a getaway before Worlds." Yeah, I'm up for that. and of course, Large Porg, flies to a Star Wars thing every weekend. So he didn't end up being able to make it out. But anyway, we sort of just ended up with, a really good number of people. We had 7 people total. Most of them just were there for the day Saturday, but me, Carl, and Casey and Chad were there for the whole weekend for the most part. So we had people flying in, and yeah, my parents have this 18-acre property that's like out in the middle of nowhere. So like it doesn't have air conditioning right now. No, so that was a challenge. But it's near the water and the stuff. So I mean, honestly, it felt better in there with no air conditioning than it feels in my apartment right now with the air conditioning blowing like crazy.
I was going to say I'll counter that because it was a little humid that day. I actually thought it felt better outside than inside.
It definitely, yeah.
Until it started raining.
I think, and then it rained. But it was good. It was a good group. We all kind of what I thought was really nice about it was some people definitely were more intense about like actually being productive and testing and things than others, and so it was just a really good balance because like if somebody went and only wanted to play like 3 or 4 games or whatever, like they would have been fine just hanging out. I think most of us played more than that, but there was we had an odd number, so people were always taking breaks and I don't know what else to say. I made a fire, and then it started raining, and then it stopped raining, and I made a fire. I learned which people in that group can handle the rain and who can't.
No comment.
The funniest thing all weekend to me was there was this stretch in the evening where like it would stop raining. I'd be like, you guys come out to the fire, it stopped raining. And then there would be literally 2 drops of rain, and somebody would be like, it's raining again, we got to go inside.
Well, I mean, people did want to play games.
Yeah, well, yeah, no, well, yes, people were, yes, you were there. That was another thing. Was I thought it was 7 o'clock at night, and I'd played 6 games already. I thought we were kind of to the next part of the evening, and then there were still people in there playing games, which was great. But just very very yeah, like I said, different people. That was why it was nice that we had 7 players there. So, so different people who were different amounts of hardcore. Than yeah.
Okay. So I mean,
that's what I got.
So we did talk a little bit about the shenanigans that occurred at your event. So, Mike, what happened at yours? Like, I know you guys, it was this New Allies. What did you guys do besides just play Star Wars?
Well, we played a lot of Star Wars. Brian Fred showed up Wednesday afternoon, and so we just hung out Wednesday. We played board games with my wife on Wednesday, and Thursday Matt Scott got in early evening and Drew came over. We had baked ziti, and then we played some board games, and we played a few games Thursday night, but not that many. And then Friday morning Matt Lutz arrived, and then mid-afternoon Charlie Heron and Greg Shaw showed up. Jeremy came over after that. So at that point we were up to 8 people, and from then until really dinner on Sunday, it was like pretty much nonstop Star Wars. We ended up with 80 games played total. I just counted. I didn't realize I'd played so much. I was involved in 17 of them. So I played a lot over the last weekend. Other than that, we basically just, when we took breaks, we basically just hung out in my living room and talked for a bit, like would walk around outside or whatnot. But yeah, it was just like Star Wars and eating. We didn't do much else.
So for when you said 80 games, I asked everybody how many games they got in, and I got numbers from everybody but Casey, but guessing how many Casey probably played in, I concluded that there were probably about 40 games that we did in our sessions. But you guys probably actually learned something in your.
I started a spreadsheet, so we tracked who played what decks and against what, and then we just have notes on the game. So if there was anything meaningful and whatnot, we were tracking that. And I don't know. I would say yes. I think we learned a bunch. I don't know that we have anything totally figured out. I feel, if anything, it was useful just to get so many reps in that I feel very comfortable playing real life cards.
Yeah, I think the reps was huge for me. I also another nice thing about that particular group that we had. So Travis, who by the way slept outside because he's a badass. Travis, is a new player, and we show up on Monday nights and he brings this deck and he's like, okay, I'm gonna play this deck, and it's he printed the cards off and everything. And I look at it and I'm like, I don't know how to play this deck. So, I mean, one night he brought Set Your Course for Alderaan, and I was like, do you know how blowing up Alderaan works? And he's like, no. And I'm like, I don't know how blowing up Alderaan works. but he and I don't think this is like, I don't think this is like breaking any secrets because it's not cracking the meta open or anything. But he was interested in learning how to play Senate. And Carl and I don't know how to play Senate. like Carl probably thinks that the Senate's a battleground.
Wow. So just so you know, Kendall, Carl is at least listening to this right now as he's driving to Yavin 4. So first of all, Carl, drive safe. Don't watch. we can't afford to lose you yet.
But we did have Casey there who knows Senate backwards and forwards, and also had never met Travis before. So for a chunk of the afternoon, Casey went in and tutored Travis on playing the deck, and he came out of it saying, yeah, I feel like I know how to play this deck now. I mean, he's still a newish player, but if that's what he ends up playing, he'll at least know the basics, and he got some tutelage from somebody that actually knew how to play the deck, which is pretty cool.
And I think Casey at one point, I think he said this over the weekend, didn't he make a top 8 playing both? I think he said he made top 8s playing both light side and dark side Senate.
Right.
So
Right.
that
Notice
right there,
I didn't
yeah.
say which side Senate, so let's keep that a secret.
Yeah, you just said Senate.
I did just say Senate. So
Yeah.
for all the people that are teching against Travis.
So let me ask you this. So besides like getting the reps in, what did you guys feel like was the most beneficial aspect of these weekends / 4-day events?
I mean, I would say first and foremost, it's just fun, like spending time and playing cards all weekend. But from a learning perspective, for me, it was more narrowing down the decks I'm considering for Worlds. So I don't know that I know exactly what I think is best, but I know there are decks that I'm no longer interested in that I was entertaining. So just from that perspective, it was useful.
For me, it just kind of because I don't know what I'm playing. But it reminded me that there was a set that came out a month ago. This virtual set 21, and some of my physical decks aren't updated for that, because for the July OCS I had a couple decks that I was just kind of trying to get out of my system. So now I realized, actually, maybe there are like 2 cards that I need to add to these decks, and the meta has. I mean, I don't think we had any like giant revelations on the meta as a whole, because aside from the fact that I feel like it could either be that a bunch of people are going to play a bunch of new stuff, and then this, or a bunch of people are going to play the exact same decks that they played at Nationals because they won't have time to make the updates, and then the meta will look like this, and so I don't think we got like any like giant epiphanies or whatever, but just like, set 21 does exist, even if you feel like your deck mostly doesn't change. There's probably like 2 cards, like you probably want Comscan detection in your deck.
I don't know, Mike, what do you think about Comscan detection?
I think most decks I would expect to have a copy of it.
Okay.
But I would expect that set 21, honestly, I think shakes things up a good bit on top of the errata. Like the errata in particular, I think made the whole weekend more interesting, because it felt like instead of trying to optimize for a known situation, it's like, okay, things are really upended now. I think it frees up a lot of space for dark side, but it also sort of changes the tier order for a bit on light side. Like decks that, in particular, Old Allies being impacted changes a lot. And I spent a good amount of the weekend trying to see how good that deck is still. So that was also really useful. So anyway.
May I ask that? Like, I know that you're one of those people who has played Old Allies a lot. Like, it seems like I know you played it in some online events. I know you played it at real life events. How do you feel about Old Allies going forward now that it has lost a Brave Resistance?
I think if they wanted to really kill the deck, Strike Planning was the card to kill. However, it's not nearly as like auto setup without ABR. You have to account for the activation change. But the things that it did well before, it still does well. So like you're still getting a deploy to Lando onto a Falcon that you can pull Rey really early. You have a consistent General Leia. So the deck is still good. It's just not nearly what it was, is the takeaway I would have. And there's a lot of other good light sides. So I'm just debating, do I want to keep putting effort into it or focus elsewhere?
And that makes sense. I think that is a very value point. I mean, we are less than 3 weeks now away from Worlds at this point, and I understand like the timing of the errata might not have been the best timing. However, I'm happy with it. Like, I think it was a great errata, getting rid of ROPS at this point and nerfing essentially the counter in a way to ROPS. Um, it seemed a little bit heavy, I want to say, but now thinking about it, like ROPS was just the best thing, like by far, either side. And going into this Worlds, I think getting rid of it was like a really good idea. And personally, I just like that the PC D&D and all of them are looking at like huge shakeups. Like I've never thought that the PC was going to say, hey, this card is now blanked. Let's move on. Especially like an objective. But speaking of ABR, I don't know if anybody saw this, but we kind of had a little bit of a farewell with Kendall. I'm going to just show it really quick. It's about a minute. We got to show it just because it's funny.
Okay. Was it funny? Okay.
I liked it. I thought it was funny. But the ROPS, so we did this also for ROPS as well. But I think this one was a little bit more fitting, especially because it is a full V-slip. And I think Kendall did say that he was going to do taps or something for this at some point. So how did it feel burning a Brave Resistance, Kendall?
I didn't know. You made it awkward by saying any last words like I was walking the plank.
Well, no, I mean, like, you know, like you go to a funeral, you have somebody say like some
That's
kind
not
things.
what they say. You would say, "Would you like to say a few words?"
Okay.
You said any last words, and it threw me off.
Hey, to be fair, I had one beer, so I was a little tipsy.
My brother-in-law took all your extra beer.
That's perfectly fine. That was a donation. I was going to say we lost Mike there for a second. Welcome back, sir. But
Yeah, I do think the any last words very much evokes the walking the plank. I'm on Team Kendall on this one.
like I said, I've never had an Iron City light before. It is not as good as you think it is. But I will say I will be making up for it. Mike, Garrett, and Bill, I'm bringing some special Pennsylvania beer from a local brewery to World specifically for at least the four of us.
Is it Yingling?
No. I'll bring Yingling if you want me to.
Yeah, Casey always gives me grief when we're traveling because I'll just order whatever the local crappy beer is, and I'm always telling him I'll drink local. Like when we were in Denver, I'm all about the Coors Light, and he thinks it's hysterical.
So the beer that you had at Worlds, is that a local beer?
No, we had a bunch of hams.
That's what I was asking. Is Hams local?
No, they're brewed in Wisconsin, but it's really popular in Minneapolis. So that's the team started drinking it at a tournament up in Minneapolis.
Okay. Wow.
Are we live again?
We are 100% live. You're on the stream.
Okay. Cool.
So now, I know that you guys are obviously Hams supporters. Do you guys have koozies made for the new allies?
We don't. Sam, I believe, commissioned some stickers. We have sleeves. We have some T-shirts. I just went with the T-shirt, but yeah, there's more new allies swag coming out every day.
Now, are you going to be offering it to anybody who's not in the new allies?
I don't believe so, unless we start a store.newallies.com.
Well, I'll tell you what. If you guys, I will present you with a gift for, I don't know, a new allies shirt.
You'll have to. So Chris is the master of all of the T-shirt printing. I'm not the right conduit. Chris Schoenthal.
Oh, that's fair. I'll just bribe him with alcohol.
Fair. So Kendall, were there any memorable like game moments or funny things that happened at y'all's boot camp?
Well, it started raining when I wanted to play outside, and it started raining when
Mhm.
Dan and I were playing outside.
Yeah.
But game moments,
You could talk about our game. I mean,
there's not much to say about our game.
you kicked the crap out of Bill Kafer's card.
Okay,
Yeah.
I won. That was one of the 2 games all weekend that I won.
Yeah. Kendall kind
Um,
of beat up Lord Sidious because I made a stupid bonehead mistake. It
yeah,
happens
yeah.
a lot to me.
I trying to think, and then I was playing when both of our brains were fried. I was playing against Casey, and I had 3 cards stacked with There's Good in Him, and
Okay.
he didn't realize that I had enough to convert Vader. But he ended up, I screwed it up. It was a situation where I could have just moved Yoda away, but instead I left Yoda at the site to Hoojix him to block a drain. And I ended up having to spend a force to Hoojix. So then when I put my 6 down, I had 2 force in my reserve deck. So had to. It was a
Casey's
50-50
saying you
shot.
didn't.
What?
Casey's in the chat saying you didn't.
I didn't have 2 force in my reserve deck.
Something. He says the Emperor. He's like screaming at
Yeah,
you,
no,
Emperor.
this was the turn before.
Oh.
Yeah. No, I didn't end up being able to convert Vader because I could have won that turn, but I messed up. I ended up with 2 cards in reserve and drew the wrong card, and then he came down with Emperor the next turn, so I would have needed to do the thing. But it was just one of those games where it was like I was a coin flip away from winning. You know.
Now, I will say, in your defense, you were able to turn Vader to the light side while they were both all aboard the Slave One. So I don't know if that gives you any points or anything like style points, but yeah, I didn't realize you could like turn Vader in space.
Yeah, it according to Greg, it works.
Are we sure? Like, I know Greg is
Greg made the ruling,
the tournament advocate, but
I feel like what happens there is he depletes your life force, and then he immediately goes lost because he can't be there.
Sounds plausible.
I have no idea.
It would be different if it was. It would be different if it was like an epic duel situation or something. Oh, you wouldn't have an epic duel.
Yeah.
You wouldn't do an epic duel if it was the thing. I don't know. It would be different if that's probably what that might be why it's worded that way for that interaction.
So now I know we talked a little bit about, but so going forward, and what do you guys think of like the meta? Like, what are you preparing for? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, like I said, I don't know if everybody's gonna just play the same stuff that they've been playing because they don't have time to adjust to the changes, or if everything's gonna change. So, personally, I'm going in with what I think is the best deck in a vacuum.
Okay.
Or the deck that I will play the best in a vacuum.
Okay.
So like if there are, I don't know whether, it's going to be, I think we all know kind of what the top 10 decks are, but it's like,
yeah.
Do I know, is this deck going to be 10% of the meta? Is it going to be 80% of the meta? I don't know. So I'm just going to have to, if there's an instant loss or an instant win, then that's something to consider. But but I don't know. I really don't feel like I know what people are going to actually do. I think there's a lot of good stuff. I will say that I don't think Cord is good.
I was actually going to ask you that.
I feel that it is my responsibility as the person who like 3 weeks ago did a mini deck tech on this show. I think that basically the changes to Cord make it so that it doesn't just get blown out in certain matchups. But the reason that I've been calling for those types of changes for the last 80 bajillion years is that those, Leia Rebel Princess and Master Luke specifically are cards that break that matchup in a
Mhm.
matchup that's already favored for light side.
Okay.
And nothing, even honestly, even I must be allowed to speak, being shielded makes Obi Muning or other Tatooine based mains decks. It doesn't move the needle in those matchups, and so I don't know. Even and Old Allies going away, maybe even means more mains. But that's me again. That's me going into the speculation area. I don't think there's any. I mean, if there was one really good alien in set 21, like a card that says adds 3 battle destinies or something, just like something that wins the game on its own, or if there was a dark side Honshu in the Falcon that came out of set 21 or something like that, not freaking Zuckuss and Mist Hunter and Forlom, because that is not Honshu in the Falcon. Like I'm not good or bad card. It's not Honshu in the Falcon.
Well, they have to balance that because Court can pull.
Yeah, no, I understand. I know. I'm not.
Thank you, Mike.
It's not a criticism of design or anything. It's just I'm just saying.
I don't know. It sounded like it.
If Court had a card that was as impactful to the deck as Lady Proxima was in set 12, then Court would be 100% be like I would play this. Or even if it was like a card that was like not that like could be that good, but we're not sure if it's that good.
Okay.
But they're just I feel like it's just the new Court cards just don't move the needle for me.
Okay. How are you feeling, Mike?
I think
Mike says Court's the best deck.
No, I agree. I don't think I would want to bring Court to this tournament. I think that there's a lot of good options for light side, which I think dark side feels weaker on paper. But I think there's avenues to go down to figure stuff out for dark side that could be unconventional or that we haven't seen in the meta recently that could be good. I don't know exactly what that's going to end up being, but I just expect there's going to be something unexpected. And
yeah. I can agree with that. And also, I mean, it makes sense that dark side would have fewer obvious options since one of the obvious options
is now gone.
Yeah. Whereas like Old Allies was even if you're saying Old Allies is still good, which maybe is I don't know. I don't know that deck very well, but even if Old Allies was blanked, I think there would be less impact to light side than Router Ops being blanked for dark side.
Okay, that's fair.
I think in general, the people who do the best at Worlds are either going to have an unexpected deck that just attacks the meta well, or it's just going to reward people that know matchups inside and out and can outplay their opponent. Because I think a lot of the games late, what I learned at boot camp, especially in plenty of matchups, it was like, who knows this better?
That's a good point. And I guess that's where playing 80/40 games comes into play.
Yes and no. If you're bouncing around from deck to deck, it becomes less useful. So my goal is to at least try to narrow in on decks in the next week or two and then just pound those 1 or 2 decks on each side.
Okay. Awesome. So now I really have to ask this because this is the first time that I've seen you two together since Nationals. Is there any animosity between the two of you after Kendall beat you on stream?
Mike doesn't even remember.
I can tell by his face.
Why would animosity?
Mike,
no.
like he's like in the Street Fighter movie. The day that you turned to my Vader was the best day of your life. For me, it was Tuesday. It was a Saturday. Yeah, it was a Tuesday.
Oh, that's a great point. I like that. Thank you.
No, there's no animosity. Kendall played well. He beat me fair and square. Good game.
So, if we have the chance to get you guys on stream at Worlds, should we take it?
Sure.
Yeah, I'm never gonna say no to being on stream. I like the attention.
If so, I hope that I get to return the favor. But yeah, I mean, that was a really fun game. That's all. I was like, that game was really fun. We had good conversation throughout too. It was a
Yeah.
pleasant experience.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm glad to hear that you guys, there's no like rivalry or anything. Now I know
If
that
anything, then we would be rivals because of the podcast.
that's
like-
true. So
Yeah.
right now,
Like,
I mean, so let me ask you this: this year, you've got. I know that you guys have played at least once. Have you guys played on GEMP or anything that you know of?
We had an OCS game in the last month or two.
Yeah,
I
was
played
thinking that
Destroyer
we played.
Droids.
Yeah,
Ooh.
that's right. That's right.
Ooh.
Yeah, and you like destroyed me. You did the thing where
Okay.
you overwhelmed Luke and like I think you like wounded warriored him and had the the 3 different droids so that you get 17 destiny
Okay.
and yeah. It was a good.
It was a fast game. It
Yeah,
was
yeah,
like
which
almost
is-
exactly what happened in the GEMPC. It was weird
Mhm.
how like similar the two games went.
Yeah.
So right now, between the Kessling Run and Corn on the Horn, you guys are essentially tied. So now we have to get a game at Worlds between the two of you.
I'm sorry. How is it that we're tied?
You beat him at
Who's-
Nationals, and
Who's interviewed more? Oh, I thought you were comparing the podcast. So I was going to say
no.
who's interviewed more
I'm
world
saying
champions?
on play ability,
Oh,
not
okay.
not podcasting ability.
No, I'm
because
sure that Mike has beaten me a half dozen times in competitive
probably.
play.
I will say this: in my defense, I prefer the silky smooth voice of Mike to Kendall.
I would give you the points in the podcasting game too. We've been very slow this year just because of life. We do have a very long episode that's been recorded that Jeremy is whittling away at, but he's been traveling and had some life stuff come up, so he hasn't
Okay.
been focused on it as much. But there will be a long episode coming, and we are in the middle of. We've had some scheduling conflicts with our next guest, but I'm told that if we're able to land the advocate Scott Lingrell, he may be our next guest
Ooh.
after. And my hope would be that the long episode would come out before then, but who knows?
So, any spoilers on who the long episode is?
It is fellow teammate Brian Fred.
I can see why it's a long episode. I mean, besides Drew, I think like somebody who likes to talk a lot, it's Brian Fred.
And he has history with the game from the very beginning and
Yeah.
took very few breaks throughout. So, and his memory is quite good. So it took multiple, it was 3 or 4 hour long recording sessions. So it might end up
Wow.
being 2 episodes.
Yeah. Like out of like the
That's
memory in the
dedication.
game, I think Brian Fred, Justin Desai are up there for like remembering things throughout the history of this game, which is just crazy.
Agreed. So just bear with us. When Jeremy has time, it will get edited and posted.
Awesome. Well,
Well-
what do you?
Well, then do I get to plug my next episode of Corn on the Horn too?
Well, you got
go
Cor-
for it.
you got
I just
Corn in the
listened to your MHG
Horde.
episode today.
You got minutes with or what is it? 7 minutes in heaven with Batmouse.
top 8. with
Top
Corn
8.
and
There
Batmouse.
it is.
So yeah, that we do have in the can. I'm also getting around to editing stuff, but in the can right now, I have top 8 with Corn and Batmouse, featuring Taco Bill and Greg Shaw.
Oh, that's gonna
I
be a good one.
am. I did not. I was the trivia master for this episode.
Oh gosh.
So yeah, so that's a thing that's going to be coming out in the next few weeks, and
Mhm.
and definitely before Worlds, I will have another world champion interview with the one and only Mr. Nate Meeker.
Nice.
Just did an interview with him last week, and then me and Bren Derlin are going to be doing a recap podcast, tentatively called Talking Tano, where we are going to talk about the Ahsoka series.
Okay.
You know, since the reason that I know who he is because of his opinions on Andor. I felt like this would be
That's a good one. Yeah.
This would be a good podcast for us to team up on.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, gentlemen, I think it's time that we get into your virtual card challenge. So tonight we have a lore challenge, and I actually told you guys this a little while ago to give you guys enough time to brush up on your lore. So again, the rules are you will have 45 seconds to determine what the card is. I will give you the lore. After I give you the lore, you can decide on whether if you want the set or the type of card. You'll get one of those, and you both will have to agree on what the answer is. Any questions?
You said it's a virtual card or it's a...
It is a Star Wars card.
Okay. I thought you said virtual card challenge at one point.
He did
So-
say
Yeah,
virtual
I
card
should
challenge at first,
change
but
it,
he
but-
was wrong.
Yeah, I'm used to the virtual card challenge because we've been doing the whole what's under this V card. I guess it's just a card challenge at this point.
Okay.
Okay, just to flex your card muscles a little bit. Okay, so the timer is up on the clock. Let me pull up the timer. Or the timer is up on the stream. So stream, one of the two. Again, I will show the lore on the screen, so that way if you guys are paying attention, you guys can see it. But the lore for tonight is a shining example of Imperial honor and bravery.
Oh crap!
Would you like the set or the type?
I would go
Man,
set myself.
I know this one.
Mike wants the set. Kendall, do you want the set? Again, you have to agree.
I would defer. I'll defer.
Okay,
Yeah,
this will be
whatever
the
you
set.
want.
The set is Cloud City. Your 45 seconds start now.
It's something that's where the person is being not that.
Human shield.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's Human Shield.
Is that your final answer?
Yes, I think based
Yeah.
on what you said, Kendall, I feel good about
Yeah,
that.
I'm 100%.
Congratulations, you guys win.
Nice. I don't think I would have got it if you didn't have that prompt.
Yeah, I totally remember. I totally remember that card.
So, again, if you know how I pick these cards, you both like Bring 'Em Before Me. You both played Bring 'Em Before Me at the last major. So I looked at a Bring 'Em Before Me deck, and there was Human Shield. Now, for bonus points, whose Bring 'Em Before Me deck from Nationals had Human Shield in it?
Hayes.
Congrats. That's a good, yeah. That was good, yeah.
It wasn't mine.
I was gonna say, yeah, it wasn't. I don't think it was either of you two. So, yeah, I pulled this from Hayes. So,
Yeah, Chad runs Human Shield in his.
it's kind of a fun card. Like, I've seen it played. I think it's not as crazy and as out there as Scott playing
Yeah, I mean it's a card. It just
It's a
kind of
card.
doesn't do what I want the deck to do. Like I
and-
want to win, and having him, giving him, just letting him just kill Luke so they can redeploy him is just it doesn't do it for me.
Okay, so just updating my spreadsheet, just say that you guys both won. And no help from the audience, so that's good. And like I said, bonus points. And I even put it in there with the bonus. So that's all we have for tonight. So again, I do want to thank Mike and Kendall for coming on. It's really good to hear about what you guys did this past weekend, preparing for Worlds, getting the teams together, just having fun slinging cards.
Can I just say, if you guys are planning on doing a boot camp, 5 pounds of meat is too much. 1 loaf of bread is not enough. One jar of pickles, surprisingly, not enough.
And make sure you put the oranges in a well
Yes.
open space, or else
Yes,
nobody's
make sure
going to
it's-
know they're there.
Make sure it's clear that the fruit is up for grabs. Because otherwise they will think that it is your fruit that you are hiding in the refrigerator. Basically, yeah. But like, think out the food situation. If you're gonna have people bring stuff, tell them what to bring, or they will all bring beer. And that sounds like a good thing, but it is not.
It
because,
is.
because Dan will bring bad beer. You
You
end up with a bunch of beer and no potato chips.
I don't know, Casey. Was the beer good or bad? I know Casey had one. I don't know if anybody else had one. But again, I do want to thank Mike and Kendall for coming on. It is always a pleasure to have you guys on. I cannot wait to see you guys at Worlds. Casey, my beer was good. Your beer was bad. That's fair. So that's all. Again, that's all we got. Join us next week. We'll have more exciting stuff. I believe we're going to try and get the winner of Yavin 4 regionals. Possibly Maryland State's on. So we'll talk a little bit about that. And then, again, make sure you guys tune in on Worlds. We'll be coming live that Thursday, Friday. Will yet to be determined. But everybody take care. Enjoy yourselves. Enjoy your weekend if you're playing in Yavin 4/Maryland. And as always, may the force be with you. Good night, everybody.
Good luck.
Thanks, y'all.
Have fun. No reverts.